Here, everyone please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Just before we start, let's have a moment of silence for, the 800 and some people that are still missing from the terrible Maui, fires and ongoing suffering out there. So maybe just bow our heads in a moment of silence, please. Amen. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. I have a motion to acknowledge the minutes of the July 24, 2023 meeting.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Now we'll move to the oft-delayed public hearing, renewal of the public hearing for local law number 3 of the year 2023. Do I have a motion to open?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Ms. Roberti?
Back,
Yep. Hopefully last time.
hopefully. So again, I'm here to talk about increasing fees and fines. I think there's only one or two under residential. They're mostly all in the commercial end as far as fees. It's to bring them in line. And also the fees and fines. We're having quite an issue with trying to get compliance, especially on the commercial side of things. So I've looked at other towns, and I'm looking to increase some of our fines, hoping not to use them, but, and nothing, so this, I've been here quite a few times. So there were a lot of errors in the June 26th resolution. And we corrected them all for July 24th, except for one minor error with the conceptual fee was changed. And then the engineering part of it wasn't put into the code. That should be the only change this time from July 24th.
I know Councilman has, indicated that there may be one other change. Councilman Casella, why don't you mention now, since public hearings, in case anybody else has a
Yeah,
comment.
so I don't know if anybody in the audience was going to speak to this, but under miscellaneous fees, Barbara, we talked about this for the garbage tickets.
So Al brought that to my attention. The garbage tickets, if you go to our code right now, are there. I didn't propose them. They've been there probably since you put them in there. So when this was printed, it's the whole code as it stands, and then my changes. With things like that, they were there. If that's something that is no longer used here and we don't charge them, that's something that should be taken out.
Right, it's no longer applicable now. We removed those 2 years ago, so we just need to update that.
And I think every department at some point should go over their fees and see what is no longer necessary, what has changed, and then maybe at a future time, do an overhaul of them that apply to other departments. But in this particular case, Jim can answer it. I don't see why we can't just amend that to just have that removed, since it's just, it's
Well, I mean,
not
we could-
applicable anymore.
We could amend it at a future date. One of the things, actually, as Barbara said, the way this was drafted to avoid the concerns with respect to matching what's in the code to matching what we use as fee schedules on the website. What we ultimately did was I took Chapter 122, Article 4 and Article 5, which has fees and fines, fees in one article and fines in the other, and I just took them and made the changes. The changes that are made, that are proposed, are here in red. Anything that was not changed is in black. So there was no discussion and there was no, there was no suggestion that the garbage tickets would be changed. Technically, they probably, at the time that was amended, the schedule should have been amended at that time. And I frankly, this is the first time I actually ever knew that the garbage ticket fees were in this section of the code. Because it's just a miscellaneous fee.
So it sounds like from what you're saying, if we were to do something tonight, then we would have to continue the public hearing. So we don't want to do that, and I don't think.
So at a future date, do we come back
Yeah.
and say we're going to just take this out, that particular section, Jim?
Yeah,
So
I
approve
mean,
it tonight as is and then fix it?
And I mean, the other thing is that,
We've already had a code, we've already changed it before and nullified it, right? So there's not an
Yeah.
existing law, it's just incorrectly mentioned in the.
yeah, and I mean,
treated in the code.
and the other issue is frankly, it's been changed over the years, at various times, basically usually as part of the budget process.
So can we pass the resolution and then strike that section and use our fee schedule with the clerk?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's what I do. We've already effectively removed it.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's the other things that are in here, return check fee, plans and specs and agricultural burning permits. I thought, I have to look. And like I said, I never looked at this section before until just now.
So maybe at a future date, we can go over it and see what other departments, things that
Well, that
apply
has to
to
be done. In
everything
the
else and
future.
fine tune that. You're not charging that, so it
Correct.
really has no bearing.
All right, so the proposal tonight is to let it stay as is. Next meeting in September, fix this, but approve this as is tonight?
Yeah, the other thing too is that, so the way our code is structured is that, and if you look in here, right, each section of the code each chapter in the code has a different letter, and the fees associated with that particular chapter are referenced in this section. That miscellaneous section that's down there doesn't have any reference to any particular code section. So it's not, it's actually not related to something that's in the town of Wappinger code. And as a general rule, anything that is adopted by a local law needs to be changed by a local law. And I don't think that, the garbage tickets, the way the garbage tickets have been treated in the past, we've never, so long as I've been here, I never knew it was never knew it was put in here by local law. It should just be taken out. And if we don't have, we've got policies, the town clerk has policies which the town board has adopted over the years regarding what the fees are and the process, but none of that has been put into the code.
Yeah.
And
So why keep it in the code?
right, so to strike that, the other option would be, should the town board wish, you could put it in the code, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be. Back in the day when you didn't have the internet, that would be the place where people could go and look for things, but I think right now, just a fee schedule would be sufficient.
Why can't you just take it out right now?
Because,
It's just an error.
Just to move this along, since this would hold up the fees, should you decide to vote tonight, can we have a resolution that just takes it out on the 11th? And then between now and then, we'll see if there are any other fees that are no longer used and that are antiquated, and we can just do a resolution to remove.
That sounds logical.
If
Jim,
this
can
was
we
a
do
pass-
that?
If this was passed law, could we, off the floor, strike those two lines?
I don't see why not.
well, technically, so under municipal home rule law, the law's got to be in final form for 7 days before adoption.
So let's just pass it, we'll make the amendment
Yeah.
after this.
Because the other thing is, there are other sections in here.
Yeah, there's a can of worms here, which I don't want to, once we start looking we could have an entire workshop and discuss the things that are inconsistent with other sections. I don't want to get into that right now, but if as you suggested, if we adopt this tonight, right, we'll do the housekeeping at the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's important that department heads do look at this and come back with their feedback before the next meeting to the board, or to you.
That's why I brought it up.
I think
mean,
it's
we've
very
been
important. There
talking
needs to
about-
be a checkpoint.
Excuse me, we've been talking about this for months. So
Right.
if other departments had issues with some of their fees and fines, we could have piggybacked it on
Exactly.
this months ago. So I think that's something, maybe an email tomorrow, everybody look at your fees and fines in the next week, so if there are other inaccuracies, we can correct them at one time.
Right.
So in just a quick review here, the only departments really that have fees in this section, for example, the recreation fees do not appear here.
Right.
The only thing are some permit fees that the town clerk charges. And then the municipal, this one section that we just have here regarding, which is just this kind of catch-all.
What about highway, like driveway permits?
Yeah, I mean, the driveway permits, they're issued by highway?
Highway.
Okay, so then that would be the other.
So we're not talking a lot of departments,
No.
we're talking
No.
one, two at the
Talking about
most.
highway and probably the town clerk.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be easy enough for them to get back
So
to
let's
us
go
before our
ahead with that
next
approach,
meeting.
and then let's hear if there's any other public comments on the hearing, so we can move
Great.
along.
Jim, didn't you just say that any changes to the code have to be done by local law?
Yes,
So then what you're proposing is another local law?
correct.
Yeah, and we may want to see if there's any other inconsistencies between now and the next meeting that we can include in that change, so that we're not doing this every few months.
Well, I think that's what Barbara's suggesting with the letter tomorrow.
Well, I mean, there's others, within our code, there are some other things that are inconsistent that we could probably handle with a housekeeping local law, all-inclusive.
I mean, the other issue too is with respect to fines. I mean, there's the fees here are, pretty set in some respects. They're not, but as far as the fines go, there's a broader range of fines for various things, which, outside of the zoning building and zoning
Building and
department,
zoning.
probably haven't been looked at in years.
I know what you're
Okay.
talking about.
Well, I think we understand what we need to
Yeah.
do. Let's
Yep.
go ahead and see if there's any other public comments. Anybody else like to comment?
Grace Martin, 52 Fieldstone Loop, Wappingers Falls. First of all, Barbara, I'm sorry. When I saw this written in the July meeting, I saw there was errors, and I had thought it was the board had told the lawyer and all the other department heads to look at all the areas. So right after the July meeting, I approached the clerk's office. I talked to one of your staff members because they were not there. And I contacted one or two council people just to say, hey, this board over the last 3 or 4 years has not charged for the garbage tickets. And, as a constituent, I thank you for that. It was just a flat fee. So again, I, in the goodness, thought it was the direction of all the other department heads that were supposed to look at this, because I admire your department, and I've publicly thanked them many times for the hard work that they did. And I know you're struggling with this for 6 months, so I apologize, it was me. But I thought, again, by the budget meetings, for the last 3 budget meetings, you all have said no green tickets, $2 for the seniors, no pink tickets for the seniors, no green tickets for the $4 people that are not seniors. So I thought it would be a strikeable thing, very simple. Okay, and I read through the pages of code. There are other departments that have errors, but this one that affected me as a constituent. The one that I didn't look at for detail anymore, and I didn't have a chance to talk to the clerk, is for the last 4 years of my life, I have not had a dog. I've had dogs for 60 years before that, so I don't know if the dog fee was correct, but again, it wasn't applying to me at that time, but it does apply to me for the garbage because I use that. So I apologize if it's going to slow it down. That was not the intent. But I really believe, since this board for the last 3 or 4 budget meetings hasn't charged for garbage tickets, either do it by a law or somehow in the next meeting just get it struck out, because my thought was when you open this 60-page thing for people to read, I was one of them who read it. I don't know how many other people read it, but that was my intent. So that's the only thing I would ask you to go forward and correct whatever documents you need to strike it or get it off at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Grace.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the
Second.
public hearing.
Motion second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed.
Do we
Thank you.
want to now just go ahead and approve this while we're here talking about it? Or do you want to wait till resolutions?
So does
Let's
it,
do it.
Then when you page through the agenda, it's going to be out of order.
Okay.
yeah, just wait.
Fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. So I had a request from a gentleman to come up and speak. Barbara's familiar with this. It's on later on. It's one of the houses that's identified, for
Number 4.
item number 4, but he's requested to speak after having talked with Barbara. Go ahead, identify yourself. And
My name is John Lodge, 1259 Route 376. Barbara and my attorney did speak today, and I believe they have a date set for September 11th, and our plan is to further evaluate what our options are with the property and come here with a game plan. So the town board is on board, pardon the pun, with what the plans are, as well as any other violations on the property that will need to be addressed.
Barbara or Judith, do you have comments, please?
I spoke to Mr. Lodge's attorney today, who asked for it to be adjourned, but I asked him to have his client here tonight when we get to that to speak to it, because somebody should represent each property, and then at that time, you can ask them to put this over. It's up their option to
Okay.
September 11th.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to it when we get that item on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
I said we'll come back to it officially when we're at that item on the agenda.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're not done yet tonight.
just wait a little bit.
Very good,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks. Okay. Kelsey West requested to speak rather than waiting for Resolution 110, talking about climate smart community. You'll recall she was here before and had discussed this with us at some length. Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak a little early tonight. I appreciate it. So I'm here tonight regarding the resolution to appoint a Climate Smart Communities coordinator and also establish the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. So I just wanted to make sure before I really got into it, does anybody need a little refresher about the Climate Smart Communities program, or is everybody pretty familiar from the April meeting?
I honestly have no idea.
Excuse me?
I have no idea.
Okay, great. Yeah, so Climate Smart Communities, it's a New York State certification program, and communities can become certified by completing certain climate actions to earn points towards certification. Long story short, there are a lot of benefits to participating, but one of the most notable ones for most communities is that you are able to achieve higher scores on certain competitive grant opportunities through New York State. So it's pretty worthwhile for communities to participate. I think you were provided with a list of Dutchess County communities that
Right,
have been
that's right here.
participating. So it's a pretty popular program, fairly worthwhile. Back in 2021, there was an assessment that took place of the town of Wappinger's standing in the program, and it was determined that out of a maximum or a minimum of 120 points required, that you've already completed 78 points worth of actions toward certification. And the 2 items on the resolution tonight would be an additional 30 points. So with relatively low effort from a task force, you could become certified in this program by a January deadline set by the state. The task force itself, the main responsibilities would be completing additional actions, collecting and creating documentation to prove that certain climate actions were accomplished for the state program. And the coordinator's role will just be to kind of coordinate the activities of the task force, facilitate meetings, and serve as a liaison to the town board and town government. The only other stipulation is that somebody from the town does need to participate on the task force. It's typically made up of community stakeholders and residents who just have an interest in climate action. The other piece of this is that back in 2022, there was a letter of support signed on behalf of the town for Cornell Cooperative Extension to assist the task force and coordinator in achieving this certification. So we've kind of pushed into 2023, but I'm available to support the coordinator and the task force in meeting facilitation, creating and collecting documentation, and also pointing the task force towards resources to complete any outstanding actions. So hopefully it won't be a very heavy lift for the town. If anything, just kind of requests for a few documents here and there. So that's kind of the background there, but I just wanted to make myself available to any questions that you might have about how task forces tend to function or about the resolution itself. So, yeah, any questions?
Is the county bronze certified?
The county is bronze certified. Yeah, they were certified in 2019, and they're actually actively, and I'm the co-chair of the committee, and we're actively pursuing certification with strong support from the county executive's office.
Okay, so in my county capacity, we are pursuing the county's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, which you're familiar with. The town of Wappinger will be participating to ensure eligibility in potential FEMA mitigation funding. Working with Owen Rafter, obviously, who is the county planner. The county is interested in ensuring that every municipality is positioned to be better prepared for emergencies. Some of the grant funding that is parallel to the equivalent FEMA funding is this state climate smart community grant funding. So my position has been, since the inception of this discussion, it is in the town of Wappinger's best interest to at least achieve bronze, the bronze level, so that we are in a better position for the purposes of state grant funding. And if you read the foundational principles, one of those goals of this program is to improve overall public health and safety, which clearly is something that we have done in many other avenues here in this town with our wetland law, which is among the strictest in Dutchess County, and our continuous discussion on how we can improve our wastewater treatment facilities. So I think that it is consistent with what your goals are, and I'd like to see us continue to move forward.
Wonderful, thanks so much. And I did just want to add too that appointing the coordinator and establishing the task force are two mandatory actions of the program. So it really is kind of the first step in getting the ball rolling here.
I think the board should discuss the most appropriate person, whether it be an employee or an individual who is interested from the community, and then we can report back if that's okay with the board.
Sure.
Any objection? We're not going to have an answer right now.
So no vote tonight on it?
I don't know. Is there a resolution?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know there was a resolution. Do we have a name already?
Well, I put my name in as just
Okay.
a placeholder.
Yeah, I didn't know we had a prepared resolution. I certainly have no objection to the town supervisor being that person. And we can move forward on that if the board wishes.
I'd like to have a little more discussion on that.
Sure.
So,
I agree.
okay.
All right, thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Anything else for Kelsey?
Just a question. So you said in order to get the bronze, how many points do you need to get to the bronze certification?
So it's 120 points and 3 priority actions, which there's a whole menu of them.
And does that require somebody to be on the board in order to be that? So as an example, in order to get to that 120?
I'm sorry.
Does it require somebody to be on the board? So we've got 78 points now. You said there's another 10 for tonight. So whatever. Do we need a board member to get us over that 120 mark?
Oh, no, so it just has to be some sort of representative from the town. It doesn't have to be a town board member necessarily. It could be
Okay.
an appointed staff member as
Okay.
well. But just to give you a better picture of those numbers and how they shake out. So you have the 78 points. You'll have
Right.
another 30 by passing these two. And there were a whole bunch of in-progress actions back in 2021 that are probably done already. So just to give you a little bit of an optimistic overview of
Okay.
how much effort it will take.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're closer than we think here.
Yes, upon my estimation, with a couple of other quick projects, you'll be at 129 points, which is a comfortable place to be.
Right.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comments on portions of the agenda? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public portion of the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. The first item under discussion, the one that Bill Beal and I had talked about a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks ago. Bill, why don't you go and follow through?
Certainly, I've spoken to each board member about this. Obviously, we face again another rate increase from Central Hudson. We've been through this before. You may not remember because it was pre-COVID where we took a position as a board against rate increases that were being put forth by Central Hudson to the Public Service Commission. Again, here in 2023, we find ourselves facing an approximate 16% increase on the average residential electric bill and approximately 19% increase on the average residential natural gas bill, which would take effect in June of '24 if the Public Service Commission grants this approval to Central Hudson. I think this town needs to take a position, as we have in the past, that this is going to be well, number one, it's bad timing because we're, again, facing uncertain fiscal times with a number of different financial variables that are a concern. But I also believe that this particular double-digit increase on the heels of a significant billing problem involving Central Hudson, it's simply the wrong time to be doing this. I understand they've reached a settlement with the Public Service Commission with respect to estimated billing, and now part of the agreement is they will have monthly billing, but again, this is going to be an additional charge to pay for the monthly billing. So what I'd like to do, if the board allows, I'd like to actually prepare a formal resolution that specifies the impacts on the average homeowner based on the average use of natural gas, average use of electricity. The reason why I want to do it this way this time is because anyone that looks at their electric bills, like I do, you will notice that unless you know what you're looking at, it's very difficult to understand the difference between the electric supply and delivery charges. And we have seen a number of occasions, we've talked about it from this dais, where the supply charge and the delivery charge have basically roller coastered. And I understand there's a number of reasons why this occurs, but it's almost like ordering something from Amazon and paying more for the delivery than the actual product. And that's happened twice in the last looks like 12 months. That is something, I understand there's variables out there from a market standpoint of why that occurs, but certainly having fluctuating prices, and we've talked about this here with Central Hudson, is very challenging for those that are on a fixed income. And that's my primary concern. Folks that are on a fixed income, who are retired perhaps, or those that perhaps have been facing challenging fiscal times themselves, having to deal with the fear of the unknown with these types of rate increases. So I think this board should take a position. I'd like to prepare a resolution. I'll circulate it ahead of the next meeting, and we can prepare that resolution, approve it, and make sure the Public Service Commission receives that resolution and it becomes part of the Public Service Commission legal documents.
In addition to that, we had the CEO of Central Hudson come in and speak to us, and I understand that that has changed to somebody else. I think it would be prudent to have them come back in and talk to this board. Members agree?
I agree.
Can we add that to the agenda for the next meeting, or whenever we can get him to come in and speak to us with all this?
But I don't think that should stand in the way of
I didn't say it
Bill's.
should.
Okay.
No.
No, I
But
agree
he needs-
with moving forward with Bill's idea.
I don't have a
Let's
problem
get the
with
letter
that.
out there now.
But I think they need to come in here and explain to us and the residents what's going on. I have gotten 3 bills in the last 2 months for the same account. Something, and I understand maybe they think they fixed their billing problem, but I do not believe that is the case. I have residents out on Smithtown Road. They are losing power every day, like as is today. They didn't have power for 6 hours. It's a beautiful summer day. Why? Do you get a rebate when you don't have power? I've never seen a rebate in my bill. I think maybe we should. So I think they need to come in and talk to us and bring the appropriate people that are working at Central Hudson leading this.
So consensus
Yes.
for Bill to go ahead.
I just wanted to,
Yeah, you can, of course.
Consensus on Bill's ideas, get this out by the next meeting, and then
we'll get an actionable item on the next meeting agenda. I just wanted to bring it up tonight since we haven't had a meeting and make sure that the public understands that we are concerned, and we will be formally taking a position on this at the next meeting.
Can I ask you to try to
Yeah,
put
no,
them
I
on the
have it
agenda,
noted,
please,
yeah.
and let us know how that works out?
Yep.
Perfect,
So
thank you.
It would be great to have those billing people come back again,
Yes,
but when they were here, I think they were as confused as the residents who get the bill.
I think you are 100% right.
So they deserve to be held accountable.
And the residents need to hear. So, thank you.
Sure. Bill, next item on first
Next
responder awards.
pictures, too.
All right, very quickly, just for the board, the Town of Wappinger First Responder Awards, the 7th Annual First Responder Awards will be held on Sunday, September 17th at 6 p.m. Want to make sure there's no objection to Sunday, September 17th at 6 p.m. The event has been traditionally the Sunday following 9/11. It will be here at Town Hall. It's open to the public. This town is the only town in Dutchess County that recognizes first responders as a town itself, and certainly we want to continue that tradition. So that said, obviously the week before would be the September 11th ceremony. It's on a Monday this year, 8:30 a.m. at the Sergeant Palmatier Park. Just have to, we'll probably have one committee meeting prior to that. It's tough because of vacation schedules during the end of August, but that event basically has continued the same model. We don't see any major difference. That particular event is not about giving speeches, and no offense, it's not about politicians. It's about marking time in real time on 9/11. And anyone that can make it on a weekday, it's greatly appreciated. If you can't make it due to work, New Hackensack Fire Department has theirs at 6 p.m., I believe. So in this town, we have two ceremonies, two opportunities to pause. And if you choose to pause on your own time in your own place, that's fine too. But we have found coming together as a community each year has been a special thing to do, and that's what we're going to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Jessica, come on up and talk about the some changes to the COVID policy.
Sure. So the last COVID policy I could find was from January 2022, and it seems to be on the rise again. I think I've heard of a couple incidents recently, so we just updated it slightly. It actually got a little looser because instead of N95s, it's just a regular mask that will now be requested that people wear if they are in contact. But we just wanted to revise it because COVID's here to stay, so have to keep evolving with it.
Is the county doing anything different? Have they updated their procedures or anything, Bill? Do you know?
So the county, from my perspective, we have been getting a number of requests from municipalities for COVID test kits. Unfortunately, the county is no longer distributing test kits as of June 1st because we're no longer getting test kits from the state, and the expiration dates now are passing. So my recommendation to a number of towns today was if you are in the need of COVID test kits, you're going to have to purchase those test kits. We can point municipalities to vendors. With respect to COVID, I think I can say we've all had it. I mean, I know I've had it at least once, right? Many of us in this room have had it. My concern is not necessarily the healthy people, right? My concern is those that have vulnerabilities, those that perhaps could be in the senior center, right?
And we have had some recently.
That's where we really have to be careful. And any individual who's exhibiting symptoms of any kind, of any illness, really, as we come into the fall, should be encouraged to not come here to this congregate facility, just in case, because there have been legitimate cases of COVID that you and I will just have as a common cold. And by the way, my voice, it's not COVID. I checked. But you and I can most of us in this room, we can handle it, no problem, we have. But it's those individuals that have respiratory issues, COPD, maybe asthma, right? That's where it can be a real problem. So whatever the best practices that you have put forth, certainly CDC best practices, we should follow. In the fire department, we've had two random people said, hey, I got COVID, what should I do? You know, it's been 3 years. Well, stay away from the group still. Even though many of us are vaccinated or have chosen to be vaccinated, still, we don't want people that are actively, even if they're asymptomatic, don't come into a group of people. Use common sense. And our position in this town, we've had a pretty, I think we've had a pretty accurate position since day one in this town. We have been smart about when to meet in groups and when not to meet in groups. We have not told the residents what they should and should not do with respect to their personal health decisions, but at the same time, we've protected the vulnerable people, and I think that's how we want to continue.
And basically, what Jessica has proposed, what we discussed and proposed, is to simplify our previous procedures, eliminating the N95 to a high-quality mask following CDC rather than what we had before, and finally referring it to the department's head. So it's eliminated some of the wording that we had that gave a little bit more rigidness to the proposal. So that's really what has been proposed here.
So no changes are necessary based on the, we found out, I guess, in the senior center, we had a couple of people that had COVID, so they're going to keep, basically procedures as is, no changes to that based on the recent results?
So this policy right here was specific towards employees. I don't know if there was another policy that was for public, like how it was handled.
So residents and those partaking in town activities, we have followed CDC best practices. Right. So again, first and foremost, if someone has any symptoms of illness, please don't come into town hall, right? If you're at town hall and you are figuring out that you're sick, right, and you subsequently find out you had COVID, then we have to make sure we monitor the folks that were present, right? Some may be vaccinated, some may be not vaccinated. And as long as we continue to have department heads and leaders who are keeping their eyes and ears open and being conscious of what our vulnerable populations could face, I think we're going to continue down the right path, which is where we've been, in my opinion.
Okay.
So basically, this revision addresses that, and it allows people to come in that are asymptomatic, so long as they wear a high-quality mask. If there's some other requirements that the department head or the supervisor feel under the circumstances should be imposed, then that's what the policy allows. But basically, it also has the personnel director, Jessica, being in contact and working the issues.
And you're working them with the county, if they have any changes, whatever their protocols are, correct?
I mean, I'm not on a mailing list with them. I can find out.
You may
Last I
want
knew,
to
it was
be.
really similar.
Yeah, it's the same. Right
Well,
now,
it would be good to be in contact with them to see what they do. If they have anything new, I would assume they would get it before any of the towns.
Yep.
So that would be good.
I'm part of that discussion at the county level, too. I'll make sure the town is looped in. But let's also not forget, let's not get lost in the COVID. The flu is also
Exactly.
just as, can be just as lethal to folks with vulnerabilities. So let's, I don't want to get stuck in the whole COVID thing. I get that, but let's understand that any illness coming in to the senior center, we want people that are not bringing anything in, whether inadvertently or not. We just need to be cognizant of that.
So you'll send out the new procedures, and we'll get an opportunity to, the board will get an opportunity to look at the procedures, and then I guess we're going to approve them at the next town board meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Barbara, Judith, I want to talk about the item number 4. Yes.
So I'll tie Barbara in where she has information. I just returned from out of town today. So I sent out on August 10th to the 4 properties that we'd previously discussed. I don't know if you got the information, so I'll give you a copy real quick.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sure. Thank you.
So the 4 properties were all notified, United States Postal, also certified mailing. I included the notification that there was going to be a meeting here tonight to discuss. I have driven by the properties since these were sent, and none of them have been in repair in any way. It appears they've gotten worse, if anything. The attached letter behind each of these is the engineer letter that we had agreed to get from the engineers. So each one of the properties has been notified, and I believe that Barbara had said that she heard back from all but one.
And Mr. Lodge is here tonight.
Correct, Mr. Lodge is here. Yeah. So 3 of the 4 are represented tonight, and the one that I did speak to is not here. I don't know if she's got somebody representing her or not, but I just wanted to let you know these were mailed out. They were given a date for the 30 days. I read the code. On September 10th is the reinspection date, and in the bottom paragraph, it does talk about how much time they have to abate. So just to let you know, that was all sent out, and obviously they were received.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
we'll please have them come
Yeah.
up to the podium.
How about you, is anyone here from 120 New Hampshire?
So that would be this, it's in the same, yeah.
No, no, I know.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jorge B. Hernandez. I'm an architect with ARQPC, which has been engaged by the owner of the property to work on this property and rectify. Just want to point out that our client chose bought the property at the end of July. They were not aware of this was going on. Somebody didn't do their due diligence, but we are now involved, and we wanted to see if the board will give us into the next meeting so we can provide you with an analysis of what we can do with the existing building and come back to you then.
What would be your temporary intermediary, rectification in order to safeguard the building? Right now, I think it's just posted and there's tape. I think we should have
Yes.
more, restrictive, preventative, efforts there to secure the
spoke
property
to-
from the public.
I spoke to the client this afternoon, and I told him we're going to meet on the site, and he needs to provide a stronger barrier than a caution tape to make sure that nobody can get into the building.
And he agreed.
Yes.
Do you have an idea what stronger barrier, means?
Oh, well,
What would you
right
be
now-
recommending?
We probably had to put some plywood over broken windows and something that prevents the people from walking in.
Okay. And probably, secure it with a fence or something better,
Say fence.
Bill. I mean, this is what you
Yeah,
need to have to keep people from going in case
Yeah,
there's a
his
disaster.
client just purchased it, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'd give them some time to come back to us, but in the meantime, obviously, under
Totally understood.
existing standards, right, if it needs to be secured, it needs to be secured, right? We can't allow anybody to go in there, and if it's a collapse hazard, we need to have some sort of a perimeter so that people aren't walking adjacent to the structure if it's a collapse hazard, so.
I would just like to add, and I'm not sure I can give you a copy of this letter. The house is boarded up, most of the entrances. I believe you could still find a way in. My concern is that the barn that has an open demo permit is not in any way, shape, or form safe. It could fall. So my suggestion would be more of a secure fence, not construction fence, but some type of real barrier around both the barn and the house. Because again, I think a child or, anybody looking to
Like
get in.
chain
can
link
get in.
fence?
I would think chain link fence.
Yep. Okay.
Let me ask you this, and if it's appropriate, is the owner, your client, interested in perhaps flipping this, or is this their own property they're going to improve?
They're looking to move into this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So we have somebody with a vested interest moving in, and I think we should give them some time to get a handle on it.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
No
Could you
problem.
give us a status maybe at the next meeting, how things are going? That would be great.
Please
maybe.
work with Ms. Sabriz
Or with
on
them,
the
yeah, the building department.
intermediary efforts, get her approval, that what you're doing is secures the building the best it can, at least as to the open areas and the barn, but then make sure the proper fence and any other, recommendations that she may have are to be followed.
Okay,
Okay?
no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then she'll report, to me and to us.
On page 7, if you want to go to page 7, we can just go on.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Okay. Welcome back, John.
So I'm just going to step up again. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Lodge, I'm Judith, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
So Mr. Lodge's property I'm concerned about because the back is caving in. And that, I did post the entrance to your, which was removed, so I'm going to repost that,
That's fine.
okay?
Is there any way that that could be posted on the front door as opposed to on the gate?
Well, you can't get to the front door.
I can.
You can, but then I'm concerned that somebody that might come up to your driveway, I believe there's other hazards there that I didn't bring out in this letter.
Okay.
But my concern would be, and anybody can clarify that if someone gets to the gate and sees that it's posted, that may prevent them to even going into the house. Because if someone was not to be posted on the gate, and they went around, that to me is more of a
Sorry.
hazard.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
I would prefer, if you want me to post it on the door, I can do that as well. But I really need to get it so that any emergency responder or a potential vandal would see that this is a safe
Gotcha.
issue. Okay?
So, John, work with Judith Sabriz on any other, actions that we need to secure the building, to keep it from being entered into, and then the proper notice. We had last meeting significant discussion because a lot of this also deals with security for any firemen, first responders that may
Sure.
have to go into the property, and we don't want to endanger their lives anymore. So we need to take those measures that our code enforcement feels are appropriate.
Right. The plan is, we're going to get the building looked at to see what remedy options there are. And in the meantime, I can secure both doors, the back one being the bigger concern, obviously. And the front door, the front of the house is fairly sound. There's no broken glass anywhere. But I will probably reinforce, my thought was similar to what they do on construction sites, to put up plywood, and then it's actually locked into place. Just, nobody's kicking in the door or anything. And
Judith, do we need other fencing or something else to secure?
So the rear of the property is actually collapsed. I don't know what you would put up to protect that. So if you wanted to put a security type of chain link fence around the property so that nobody could get in there, that would be the only thing I could see that would be safe, that you actually have all collapsed.
now, can I do that around just the back portion of the house where the concern is, attaching it to the walls of the house?
It would have to be from a sound structure.
Right.
And again, estimated the front does look, somewhat secure. I would probably do the full perimeter of the house because somebody breaking into that front door is going to end up in the back. So to me, I would just, maybe not your whole property, maybe behind the current gate that you have, but certainly the perimeter of the house would make me feel more comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. And all of these properties are going to be put back on the next town board agenda? I would-
Yeah, subject to our discussions tonight, if the other property owners are here, then we'll listen to them too.
I'm more than welcome to meet you out there, and then we can talk about.
Yeah, I would say, Judith, why don't you meet them out there and then you approve whatever, John, then she needs to approve whatever you're going to put into place to add additional security and safety, okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Protect all of us.
No, I get it. Okay. Do you want my phone number as well?
Sure.
So Judith, is the game plan to go out there in about a week or two and go ahead and make sure that the updates are being made, like the chain link fence?
Mr. Rogers is going to get in contact with me tomorrow, and then we'll make a date,
Yeah.
okay?
Any issues with the neighbors next door at all with, that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I can speak to Mr. Lodge about the concerns that I have.
Because there are some concerns with the property next door.
The property next door.
Well, again, Mr. Lodge, I mentioned that the house is really the concern, getting it secure for now, but there's other issues, but we can talk when we go out there. Okay?
No, Judith, you had contacted Tompkins Bank?
I did.
So do they have any
So there
position
was-
on this?
I did receive the letter back. I don't see that they're represented here, and that in fact may be no longer a concern. But according to, I'll show Mr. Lodge, according to my research, Tompkins National had some interest in this, so they were notified as well. This may no longer be, but according to my records, there was still something that they would have interest on your property.
Interest is in,
A mortgage.
Mortgage.
oh, no, it may impact, no, the mortgage was paid off.
And again, but according to this, it's not satisfied, so that may be something you want to check into to make sure it's clear,
Or-
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just one, for the record, is the property vacant currently?
The property, we're staying in another house. We're there regularly. In fact, we do our garbage pickup there, so there's activity.
So do you
there.
actually,
But 1259, nobody is inhabiting
Nobody's
it.
residing.
nobody's inhabiting, but you actually put the garbage cans out?
Yes, I do the garbage there. We put the cans in and out.
Okay.
The electricity for safety has been turned
Turned
off
off, okay.
until the situation is resolved.
Okay,
Okay, good.
okay. I have no further comments. Bill, any other
No.
members? No. Okay, thank you. So then work with Judith, please.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
And then you'll be back here on the 11th, the next board meeting.
Actually, probably go to
Whatever she
12th, right?
says.
Yeah. Huh? No?
Is it the 12th or the
Or
11th?
12th, yeah, I guess 9/11 is...
9/11, we're not gonna-
Yeah.
If you go to page 11, I think Wanda's here. So this is 101 Old Post Road.
Okay.
Okay.
So 101 Old Post Road, actually, the other three properties were, I have been communicating with them over.
Just a little closer.
I've been communicating with them over several years and trying to get in compliance. 101 was noticed from the road, and also I was out on a construction site next door, so we realized that that was a property that was an issue, and this was added on to become the fourth property. So this notice that they received, again, has a date of reinspection of 9/10, but the structural engineer did send a letter as well about the concerns with that property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
This is obviously the first we've heard of this. Obviously, in the letter, it says there was something that was done in April. We're just here to get an extension so that we can figure out what is the best action for us and our family to go moving forward. So that's why we're here, is to see if we could even just get 2 months, so we could sit down, speak with family members, speak with engineers, speak with demolition, figure out what is the best, make appointments, make bids, and try and figure out what is best for our dad.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, but what I think we'd like to do, consistent with what we said to the other individuals, if you could come to the next board meeting on the 12th and give us a proposal of what you have done and are doing. And again, I think we want to see if there are items that need to be better secured, then work with Ms. Breeze on that, but come back to the board on, the 12th at our first board meeting in September. And then, we'll discuss it further based on what you propose to us. So, we'll give you that until the 12th, but nobody's habiting it, right now. Is your father your father's not in there anymore?
No, he's not in
Yeah.
that separate.
So we want to make sure that it's secured from anybody going in, any
Right,
kids and what have you.
Everything's locked up.
Sure.
There's no broken
So-
windows. There's
Work with Judith, and so she can just, inspect it and then report to us if necessary. Then you come back at our next board meeting and give us a report of your proposals. But in the meantime, get some people looking at it and work with Judith on
right. And
that.
if we haven't made like a final decision by then.
Well, then you recommend to us what you need, what you've done and what you're going to do in the interim, and then we'll consider that, I think. Okay.
This is 101 Old Post Road, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sense that you're in a challenging position right now. Certainly, I want folks to understand that we don't want to create more hardships than you already face, okay? But we want to ensure that if especially if emergency services happen to be called to that building, whether there be somebody inside or not, that the building's not going to collapse on emergency first responders. So that's basically where we're coming from, and like I said, I can sense that there's a hardship and challenge there, and I'm willing to, and I'm sure my colleagues would be willing to give you whatever flexibility you need realistically so that you can discuss it with family.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But-
Thank you.
But come on
That's
back and let us
reasonable.
know what you find out, and then we'll, give you, I'm sure, some other
The letter
things.
sort of came as a shock.
Understood.
What do we do
Yep.
now, and where do we-
Well, that's why we're holding this meeting tonight,
Right,
too, to
right.
make sure we, give everybody the opportunity.
So I would just ask, because I actually went and posted the building, that by right away I walked up and I could go through the front door and I noticed that the ceiling is no longer there on the porch. So you're saying it's locked up. I would suggest that you board it so that really nobody can break through there. And around the back as well. I did not go around the back, the engineer did, but secure it up. Because even that entry there that I was on was a little scary, that if somebody were to be playing there, that is collapsing that roof.
So you're saying to board up the entire porch area?
I would secure it so that nobody could even get past the porch into the front door.
Whether it's
Yes.
board up or some other way to secure it, but work with Judith on that to figure out what you might do.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like a
Well,
screen porch.
I can meet you out there and we can talk about maybe some
Yeah.
possibilities. Okay, just to protect you, the town, and anybody else, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judith,
So I don't know if anybody's here for the fourth property, 16 Dogwood. I will try to locate her in another way. She was in communication with me. I was visiting her pretty much monthly. She and her son-in-law have stopped communicating, but I will reach out and try to find out if I can. She is living somewhere else, I know that, but I will try to see if I can get her and let her know the importance of being here.
being here at the next board meeting.
So you've already posted it, because I've been by that house a number of times, and
Yes.
looks like it's ready to fall down.
Yes, and
It's
the
a
roof has
major,
actually gotten
major
worse.
hazard.
With all the rain that we've been having, the tarp that was there has exposed
roof.
what appeared to be healthy or healthier than other areas. It is no longer it's completely gone, that portion of the roof. So pretty much the whole front of the house and the back area is just as bad. So yeah, I will reach out and try to find her.
Thanks, Judith.
Okay, thank you, Judith.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, very good. Next item, Jim, you were to talk with and negotiate perhaps some additional fee charge on the pilot for the tax.
I had a couple of emails with the attorney for the pilot, but I was unable to connect with him because of some issues that I had.
Okay.
So if we could put that over to the next meeting.
Sure.
That's fine.
He's been anxious to come to a resolution, but like I said,
That's fine.
I've been disposed.
Okay.
No problem.
So we'll just table that when it comes up, 97?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Jim. Al, you want to discuss Marts?
Yeah, sure. So just a quick update on the Marts pickleball courts. A couple weeks ago, we had talked about putting in 12 courts. We're actually going to put in 10 courts. Looks like probably Friday or Monday, Friday of this week or Monday of next week, the gentleman from Craftco is going to come out with me. We're going to actually line the field so we know we're actually to dig the holes and put the sleeves in. Mike Sheehan's group will come out. Highway Superintendent will drill the holes with the permission of Mr. Frazier, put the sleeves in. Hopefully that's going to happen sometime early September, somewhere around the 7th or 8th, and then the expectation is somewhere around the 18th. Weather permitting, that what's going to happen is we will do the resurfacing. That'll take about a week or so to do that. Much better than we expected originally. We thought we were going to have to close for 2 months. We're only going to have to close for maybe a month or less, so we're trying to expedite that. And that's where we have our status today. We'll get them to go out to Wappinger Delivery, update that. Courts are open. They will continue to be open through the 7th. When they do the lining of the courts, though, it's going to take 4 to 6 hours, so it will be closed that day. When I get a better date, I will certainly post that, but that's where we're at today.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Al.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to our resolutions. Resolution 2023-74. This is in the matter of increase and improvement of the facilities of United Wappinger Sewer District. in the town of Wappinger. This is for tri-municipal. Jim, why don't you discuss this? Because we had tabled it previously.
Yeah, actually, if we could do 74 and
Together,
78.
78
have a
are together.
discussion. So, with respect to this was for a sludge upgrade. Since this resolution was first introduced, the bids had come back higher than what was proposed. The original estimated cost of construction was $1,457,000, give or take. And then the bill, that includes the soft costs in addition to the bids. The bids came back about $200,000 higher. So the total project cost went to $1.64 million, and the town of Wappinger's share is 49.55% of the cost, which is $814,016.
And this is set forth in Ian McDonald's
Yes.
letter. That's part of
Yep.
the record here with the
So,
resolution.
the board had, tabled this to try to get some leverage with respect to Tri-Muni. However, Tri-Muni is in the process of actually renewing its permit with DEC. I got a note from Ian McDonald today that there was a meeting with DEC, and DEC is taking the position that unless the improvements are made, future connections to Tri-Muni may not be approved by DEC, which would theoretically threaten the Wildwood project, which we are under a DEC consent order.
Supervisor Baisley contacted me saying it really is dire with respect to the DEC,
Right.
at this point in
And
time.
so DEC is right now in the process, the permit for Tri-Muni has expired.
That's
And
right.
they're in the process of renewing it, and DEC is looking at I&I issues and a lot of things with respect to the permit. As we, I think, discussed at the last board meeting, there's also, DEC is changing the chlorine limits that are permitted to be discharged in into the Hudson River. And then I had an opportunity to review the intermunicipal agreement with Tri-Muni, between Tri-Muni and the town, and the town doesn't have, basically the agreement says the town has an obligation to pay the fees that are due and then litigate it after the fact.
Has the village been able to come up with their share of the money because they have the bond?
What's that?
Has the village been able to come
Yes.
up with the bonding?
Yes, they have in fact adopted the bond resolution,
They did.
yes. And the town of Poughkeepsie is funding it from a fund balance that they have, because their contribution is probably maybe $200,000, if not.
So does the $722,000 include the $143.7K of additional money that the town has to pay?
No, so
It's
the.
Or it's an addition?
826 now, right?
Right. So the new amount is, or it's 814,
Oh,
814016.
814, okay.
Did I send that to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, so the total, so the share for the town of Wappinger. So with respect to 74 and 78, the numbers in those resolutions would have to be amended.
Half the increased, right?
Right, from 722, 279 to 814, 016. And then with respect to those amounts, there is a grant of $105,000 for the blowers, which was received in a joint from Dutchess County. The grant agency receiving it was actually the village, but it was a joint application. The village put in an application on behalf of all three municipalities.
Right.
So do we get 49.6% of that, or 49.55?
Yes.
So, I mean, so the amount would be reduced from 1.64 million to, by 105,000. However, should there be some reasons why the county wouldn't deliver the grant money, the bond resolution is adopted for the amount less, not including the grant money, so that the project could go forward should the grant not be received. And obviously, any money not spent on the project would get, basically, the amount borrowed would be paid back down against the bond.
So how do we get back or try to get onto the board of, Tri-Muni? Because
I've been requesting that, and they keep refusing that.
But they weren't
we're almost 50%, and it's ridiculous that we have no say in anything.
So the option is,
Why would we do
basically,
this?
I think that the option is to have a discussion with particularly the state representatives, because I think at the end of the day, it's DEC that has the most leverage over this agreement. I mean, there's
So who can do that?
really there's provisions in the agreement for the town to back out, but the cost of backing out this, in essence, to back out of the agreement, the town would have to build its own new sewer treatment plant.
So we could argue that this isn't a cost as non-owners we shouldn't bear, but then we
Tenants.
run the risk of not being able to put Quiet Acres into it. So it's, for lack of a better word, it's a municipal blackmail.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let me just give you some history. That is how the agreement,
Right.
the tenancy agreement, got into place.
That's how it was structured.
Because what happened was, the town of Wappinger pulled out of the tri-municipal
Right.
agreement, and then the Oakwood Knolls sewer treatment plant failed.
Right.
And at that point in time, Tri-Muni had already been funded, was under construction, and, the attorneys for the participants in Tri-Muni then put a gun to the town of Wappinger's head, because they had a consent order that they had to abide by, and the cheapest way to abide by the consent order, rather than build a whole new sewer treatment plant, was to connect to Tri-Muni, which is how we got the god-awful
Right.
blackmail agreement
1990.
and a tenancy agreement.
This is awful.
So what you're telling us, we have no choice to it, but we have to approve this tonight.
Basically.
Right, we have to approve this tonight, but also understand that there was a referendum. There was a whole issue around the referendum that occurred. So, I mean, there was taxpayer involvement in the decision. It wasn't just a unilateral decision by the board. And this is, 50 years ago or whatever it is now. So, again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I agree in
I
principle.
believe it was 1991.
Well, okay, but I'm talking about originally, the original inception, So, or 40 years ago. So, we're not going to be able to fix that right now, but we do need, in order to get the additional volume that we may need on other projects
Down the road, I got
that
you.
are down the road, we're going to need to do this anyway. So, that said, I think we still should have that conversation about having a seat at the table, but we're not going to solve that in this fiscal
They
year.
still haven't responded to the certified letter that I had sent pre-COVID.
I also think, to Mr. Haran's point, we should involve the DEC as
I agree.
basically 50% users of the plant.
So who can reach out to our state representatives to help us get some leverage on this thing so that we can be part of this Tri-Muni? We don't have to figure it out tonight, but we need to start looking at this. I mean, I know the
I've already
supervisor's done.
discussed it with the assemblyman and
Okay.
also with the senator, and I'll follow up some more based on tonight's
Okay, thank you.
Right,
instructions.
thank you.
I just want to, Jim, reconfirm the amount that we're putting in for the bond, because we have in here originally 722,279.94, and it says in the letter, the United Wappinger Sewer District to finance an additional
So,
143,763.
To that point, the 772,279.94, that number backs out the 105.
Okay,
So the original, what was originally calculated in the original map plan and report was $105,000 less than the 772. So that was the cost. The 772,279.94 was the estimated cost
before the,
before the grant.
okay,
So Mr. McDonald's letter and the updated costs included a credit for 105 in the original price, but did not include a credit of 105 in the second price, which was, I believe, a mistake. Because as far as I am aware, the 105 is still available.
Okay. So, again, we are talking about tonight 814, or what? That's the amount, right, Joe?
Right, so 722 is being replaced by 814,016.
Less the 49%, 49.55%, right, of the $100,000 grant. So we're around 765.
It's 814016.
Yes.
Right, but isn't it minus 49,000?
No, that includes that number is,
It's already got the $100,000 grant included?
no, there's no grant money included in that.
Yeah, so my point is if you take the 814,016, take $49,550, assuming we're 49.55, should be 764,466.
But that's not the bond authorization. I mean, that's ultimately how much the town would
Yeah, he said we still have to
borrow.
authorize the bond for the
That
total
would
amount.
be what the town would borrow, but the bond amount should not take the grant money into account.
So you want the full 814,016?
You don't have to borrow the
Yeah.
full amount, you just,
Right.
you.
And once you
have
get the grant money in,
authorization to
you
do
said
it.
they have the grant money in, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And what they've done in the past, Al, is to put a credit onto our United Wappinger Sewer District bill. You know, we
Okay.
get these credits annually, you know, at various amounts based on what comes in during the year.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's what they'll do. So we'll probably still have to go with this, you know, full amount of the bond, the 814.
All right. So we need to approve resolution 2023-74 for $814,016?
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, so we're doing 2023-78 and 2023-74.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So we just did 74 right now.
Separately is better. So the,
It's in the second one.
yeah,
The money, there should be money,
78.
yeah.
Yes.
right.
The second one's actually the resolution authorizing,
Yeah.
so 78's actually authorizing it.
Right.
Issuance of 814,016 in bonds.
14?
Yep,
But both
814,016.
of them have the amount in it. They both have an amount in it because you look at, you know,
Yes.
Resolution 78 has the amount too. So we'll just amend each of them and then
Yep.
pass them separately.
So I made a motion on 74 to okay with the new 814,016
As amended, yes.
as amended.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you. And so now we have 78, okay, as amended to the 814,016 number.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Haran, just a quick question.
Certainly.
We're not owners of a sewage facility. Is there grant opportunities that we're not able to apply for?
Good question. I don't know.
I'm just wondering because the town is at incredibly good fiscal
Standing.
situation. We have access to better financing than some.
Right.
I'm just wondering if are we missing because we are not owners of said plant?
Well, yeah, I have actually proposed, you know, to them previously that because of our financial capability,
Right.
that should be really the consideration that allows us to go in with voting, you know, rights.
Right.
You know, before Jay Baisley had said that they wanted an additional $7 million from us to get voting rights at the table, and I said no.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, you know, if you look at the agreement and the history, you know, the town did make payments during the
Yes.
course of construction.
And we you know, tabulated those and
Yes.
provided to them. I think it was $2,100,000 and something
Yeah.
above and beyond.
I mean, you know, the
Right.
facility was expanded to meet the needs of the town,
Right,
and the town paid for the costs of those expansions
exactly.
without becoming an equity owner in the property. But anyway,
Okay,
Oh,
well,
what
we'll follow.
Evil
up on that.
web that we weave.
so,
So the next item is Resolution 2023-97. This is for the pilot, and so I guess we table it.
yes.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Motion second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. So Resolution 2023-91. Let's see, now I lost my...
So I'll make a motion
Go
to
ahead.
approve with the I guess, as is, and then we've got to come back on the 12th of September to make the amendments to the miscellaneous fees.
Second.
Jim?
Yes,
I thought he said it has to be a local law change. You need a new local law.
right.
We're going to pass
So
this
we'll
one.
introduce
we're
a
gonna
new
pass
local
this
law.
one.
I mean, the one thing, like I said,
At the
based on,
September meeting. Yeah.
there's a couple of fees, I mean, there's some, like, collateral loan broker fee, there's some wacky fees that are in there that we charge. We don't really get many. I don't know if the ice cream, do we still give ice cream vendor licenses? So I don't know if that fee's in there. So we can look at that, and we'll put that together in a local law, but.
Okay. Second.
Yes. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Okay, the next item is Resolution 2023-102. This is a resolution creating a building permit amnesty program for the town of Wappinger. Jim had, provided us this evening with a revised resolution. Jim, why don't you discuss that?
Yeah, so Barbara and I had a discussion on Thursday regarding this after the agenda had closed. We put some additional qualifications in here. One of the things that's in the fee schedule that was just adopted, there's been an issue in the town where there are quite a number of building permits that have expired. They're good for a year,
They're good for a year.
and then they can be renewed. One of the hazards is that it's really impossible to know whether or not somebody did the work and never closed it out, or somebody just took out a permit and never did the work.
Right.
We frequently have people, who've done the work and then basically don't understand that at the end of completing the work, you have to call the town back in and get an inspection done to certify that the work done was in accordance with the plan submitted to the town, and at which point a certificate of occupancy or a certificate of compliance is issued. The town's got probably 2,000 or more of these permits, a lot of times the way that they get cleared is somebody does a municipal search when they're buying a property, and, it shows there's an open building permit, but, a lot of properties don't flip, and, the goal is, from a safety point of view, is to get the work inspected.
Exactly.
To make sure that, there's not, work that was being done in an unsafe manner.
Bless you.
So,
Thank you.
to that end, what we did in the fee law that we just did is, the cost of renewing the permit, a building permit, would increase each year that the work is not done.
You have about 2,000 open permits?
Yes, and so Krista Verano, one of the clerks, she's spent a good amount of time, and she's put a binder together year by year. So we were just waiting for tonight if the fees and fines were approved, and starting tomorrow, we're going to start printing them. This is a huge undertaking, and because of the time of the year, where if it was in April or May, we could have spaced it out a little bit. So I've had a team talk with our team, and all the inspectors are going to help, and we can each sign them and get them out, because just printing them, writing envelopes, and then we'll help with answering all the phone calls. I'm sure we'll get a lot.
Yeah.
So we've already figured out how to separate the phone calls so that the inspectors will take all the expired permit calls. Some of them, as Jim said, a lot of times it might just be the electrical. A lot of times, the contractor took out the permit for the resident and never closed it out, and the resident is totally unaware and innocent of the fact that the permit hasn't been closed. So we're going to have to go through them, and some of these people will have to call their contractors back to close these out, or they just need the electrical inspection, or like Jim said, we may find they never did the work. So we'll take a ride. If it's not done, we can close them. But we really would like to close the gap as best we can going forward.
Oh, I totally agree. This is dangerous, and to the best interest of the residents,
Exactly.
no matter how we look at it.
I like the idea of the amnesty program, giving people
Yeah.
about 4 months to try to be in, conform. So,
So Jim, what you've done in here is specified the detail
Yeah,
what you expect.
so basically, what we did is we just added some more particulars with respect to the amnesty. The building permit was issued on or before August 20th, 2022. Permits issued after that time have not expired yet. One of the things here is that work has been commenced under the building permit. So if somebody pulled out a building permit and didn't do any work, they really shouldn't get the benefit of that. They should have to just pay the new building permit fee. And technically, they're not really reopening a permit since they didn't do any work.
Right.
Application to renew the bill shall be made on or before November 1st, 2023, and the work should be completed by the end of the year. And, basically, if they comply with that, they'll pay the current fee in effect. They won't pay for the new fee. And then, the work has to comply with the code, has to be completed and satisfactorily inspected by the end of the year. And any permits that don't meet these conditions, you have to pay whatever the new fee is.
I'll move it.
Second?
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion
Thank you, Barbara.
passes.
Thank you, team.
Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It sounds like you have a good process in place.
Okay. Next number of resolutions are relating to appointments. Jessica, why don't you come up, and then we'll pass each one or just vote on each one separately, but why don't you give
I
the
think
overview?
for some
what
of
we're
these,
doing?
though, we may want to go into executive session.
Well, we're going to have executive session
Okay.
for some of them, yeah.
So you can talk about them, but I think it's
Talk about it and-
proper for us to talk about these in executive session. There's some questions.
Yep.
Okay, I think the first one, I don't know the order that they're in, but I know there was,
The first one is resolution authorizing appointment of senior account clerk.
okay, so the senior account clerk would actually be promotional for the current account clerk,
Yes.
Regina.
Okay. So this is one that we're going to discuss.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a motion to table.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. The next one is a resolution appointing account clerk, and this is resolution number 2023-104. And this is one for the court clerk, correct?
Nope, this is just the account clerk, so it would actually be.
Oh, yeah,
Regina's
okay, that's right,
replacement.
I'm sorry. And this one needed to be amended in order to begin the start date, didn't it, or not?
Was it missing the start date?
Yeah, this was the start date to
So it's the August 28th, so
28th.
next Monday.
Correct.
And the one thing that I would just add is that, it says it here in the rules, but in the past, we've typically put in the resolution that it's subject to a probationary period.
Was that missed? Okay. It is. Well, she has to actually take the test first, and then
Oh.
there's probation. Take test, pass test, then probation.
Okay, so there's no list, so this is just
Correct.
provisional?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see the provisional.
Yeah, that's right here.
one. Okay.
This one, I don't think there's, Al? This
I
one
think-
see.
I think this one here, quite honestly, in my opinion, I think 103, 104, 105, and 106, actually not 105, 103, 104, 106, and 107, probably need to talk in executive session.
Okay,
I
Just
agree.
my opinion.
okay, so then, do I have a
Yeah, move
motion to table each one?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
This is 104, table. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. 2023-105, do I have a motion?
That one's
No,
fine.
that one's.
That one's fine,
Sounds good.
okay.
And then 106 and 107.
Okay, let's, so do I have a motion on 105?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor of approving 105?
Aye.
Okay, aye.
Aye.
Seeing no nays or abstentions, the motion passes. Okay, 106, do I have a motion to table?
Table.
Second.
Motion and second at the table, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. And Resolution 2023-107, resolution appointing maintenance mechanic.
Table.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. The next item is Resolution 2023-108, resolution approving SAS Electrical Inspection as an approved electrical inspector for the town of Wappinger. Yuri Badovich had made a written request to be considered to be added to the list. Building department, particularly Susan Deo, has reviewed it. We got recommendations, got the background, a long list of municipalities in the county that have authorized him.
All of that is on file
Yeah.
with Susan.
Right.
I move it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes.
So to the point, as Councilman Beal had noted about things that are old and outdated, Chapter 114 of the Code of Town of Wappinger talks about, it appoints the New York Board of Fire Underwriters as the electrical inspector for the town. The entity only practices down in Long Island and no longer does work in the Hudson Valley. And it's really kind of an outdated code situation, and it's one of the things that
So we need to
amend.
Is that
We're
code
working
just-
on that.
Is that code just inspectors? Is that-
You're right. It says we follow the National Electrical Code, which, because of changes to the uniform, the thing is from like 1980.
Because I know, Barbara, you have a list of approved vendors, don't you?
Yes, and to get on that list, they have to pass a test certification with the
Right.
state to even be an inspector, and we only accept inspectors that are on our list. So by putting this gentleman on, we'll amend the list in our office and on the website, and he could also be called. But as a resident or a commercial entity, you can pick anybody on the list.
Right.
We don't choose for you.
Now,
Right.
to that, as we see, if you put into law a fee, then you're basically tying your hands down the road. Could you put in as per building department accepted list instead of listing all the vendors?
Okay, so every permit that would require electrical, the list is attached to it.
I'm talking about the law, though, because,
Right, but we don't pay, they have to pay that person.
right,
We don't collect
No, I'm
that
just,
fee.
I believe that the underwriter, that's the person the entity that's designated in Chapter 114
doesn't do
isn't
that.
on the list.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Wait, he's off because he no longer does work here.
Right.
And we knew that, so we took him off.
But like I said, that's the only person listed. It says that
Right now.
entity or somebody approved by the town.
okay.
Right,
So
so,
if we just put in approved vendors,
yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember ever approving someone to be on the list from the town board dais.
Well, that's what we had gone through a long
Right.
discussion internally on that.
We haven't added anyone.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
haven't
haven't
added
done
one
one.
in a very long time.
I just went through, a couple years ago, I went through this entire process of finishing, the basement and going through the electrical and electrical inspector, and I thought the way we do it is actually good. You get the permit, and there's a list of electrical or electricians that are approved by the town, and obviously the idea is one vendor did the work, and now somebody on the list comes in to check everything, and believe it or not, the person who came in to check everything caught an issue. Actually, no, on my transfer switch caught an issue, because I had to do it there as well, and it actually, the process worked, because then the other electrician had to come back, and they know each other. He's like, hey, you didn't put the interlock device on the right thing,
Right.
So I was impressed that the process actually worked, so I just don't remember ever.
But that process really isn't in Chapter 114.
All right, so what we just did is fine, but moving forward, exactly what you said. We don't, the list is approved as it stands. It shouldn't be codified.
right?
Okay.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. Done.
I'm the next one, too.
Next one's the petty cash proposal.
So, many times people bring cash to the office to pay for a bill. So it's not so much the application fee, but when somebody has to pay the square footage fee and it's like $112.50 and they only have two $100 bills. And this happens quite often. So I've been kind of the cash cow in the office, like giving change, and sometimes I don't have it, and then they're running around the building. So I've asked the board to give us petty cash, just so that we can break change easily.
Move it.
Go ahead.
Why wouldn't you do 500s instead of 200?
We don't want that much money in the office.
Yeah.
And
We can
no,
discuss it more
seriously, and we
budget
thought
time
about it.
if needed.
We get maybe 1 or 2 a week, and even if it happened, we thought about different prices. If it even happened twice in one day, we'd still be able to do it with 200.
Right.
And nobody wants the
Responsibility.
of having $500 in the
Okay.
office.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Just on the question, I feel like we should be cashless. I don't understand.
But how do you turn
How
someone
do you-
away with
yeah.
cash?
I mean,
So I'm going to tell you, without getting into the nitty-gritty, there are some people that don't have credit cards or checking accounts.
how do they function in
I
day-to-day
don't
life?
know, that's not my
But that's what
purview.
they
I'm just
do.
curious.
To
Yeah.
function. But I run dances for kids, and I have to tell you, we've thought about not taking cash, but that would take a whole bunch of kids out, because the parents have, that's their only way of paying. And cash just still works, so until it doesn't,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love having cash, but just from an accounting perspective, it would seem to me that,
Can't say no to it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Yankee Stadium is now like cashless for buying anything.
no, a lot of places are, but I don't think we're at that point.
I'm not saying we're Yankee
where
Stadium, but-
Residents around when they're trying to get their permit.
Jeff, any thoughts on whether or not we have to take cash?
I'm not sure if the rules are the same for municipal entities and governmental entities and private actors.
Yeah.
That's something that, before we move to that,
Yeah.
you or I should look at.
Sure.
There's a standard.
I mean, we may have some obligation to take cash at least up to a certain amount.
All right, well, based on the attorney discussion, we've already spent over $200, so why don't we just,
So we have
the clock's running, so let's just get this thing
we have a
passed.
motion and second. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions, seeing none, the motion
That was
passed.
good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That was really good.
We stop you right there.
Okay, the next item is what we had been discussing earlier, Resolution 2023-110. Sound like wanted to table it? Or not?
Yes.
Yes.
You want a table for a future meeting, or you want to have any discussion? or-
Oh, we can have discussion.
I mean, I don't think there's a timeline on this.
No, there
at
is
the
no
moment, So
timeline.
we can just discuss outside of here, and then come
Right.
back and figure out what's best.
Did you say there was some kind of deadline at the end of the year?
It's beginning of the year, yeah.
Beginning of the
Yeah, well, we need to decide this year and do something, get some points. So, do I have a motion?
Table it.
Yeah. is there a
Second.
motion? Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Okay, the next item is Resolution 2023-111, acknowledging the correspondence log.
Move it.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. Any items for special consideration, new business?
Yeah, something before I forget. So we talked about it a few times tonight. I don't know that September 11th is included in our legal holiday list. So I think technically, right.
It's not, that's what I was going to say.
So we're going to have to, I believe, the right thing to do, so that we don't come up against the other 9/11 ceremony that's happening on the other
Right.
side of town, I think that we should move the meeting to the Tuesday as if it were a legal holiday, and we'll post it accordingly so folks know, and I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Barbara,
Second.
any planning board, zoning board meetings that night?
On Tuesday? Okay, so,
Wednesday?
let me see here.
No planning board, zoning board meeting that night.
No, only have both of you and the zoning.
Yeah, that's what I was going to propose, Bill, because
What do you wanna
the zoning board could be a big meeting.
I'm going to have a conflict on
So move to
Wednesday.
the 13th.
No, wait, Bill's
He
conflict.
has a conflict on Wednesday.
I mean, I could do Thursday. What, is there another meeting that night?
14th? I don't have any.
I don't either.
I have to work on Wednesday night.
Well, you have to work
Thursday?
on Monday night.
I have the Medical Reserve Corps recognition
Okay,
dinner on
Thursday night?
the Wednesday.
Yeah,
14th?
Thursday.
14th.
Thursday, I
Which one
can
do
do
you
the
wanna do?
14th if you want.
Yeah,
Want to do the 14th? Al?
because we have to get budget things moving and so forth. We don't want to miss
It's
that.
up to the
week.
board, though.
Yeah. 14th,
That's
folks?
good.
Sure, what time?
7?
Same time, 7.
Bill, 7?
Yeah, whatever you want
Okay,
to
do I
do.
have a
Yeah,
motion?
can you do it?
7 PM?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, 7 PM in this room. Otherwise, then the conflict really is the room. So,
Okay, so September 14th, 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed, and we'll have board meeting on the 14th of September at 7 o'clock PM in this room. Joe? Okay.
if we could just
Very
make
good.
sure that, whatever we need to notice on that, so folks know that it's.
Yeah, no, we'll get it out. Okay, very good. Any other, comments?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Go ahead.
So real quick, I had sent it out to the board about moving some money in Steve Frazier's budget. He was okay with moving it. Basically, it was for Robinson Lane, moving some money out of fence money over to the clay line. It's about $3,500. He's got $10,000 in his budget. He hasn't spent anything. I don't know if the board's interested in entertaining that, but that's one of the things they have requested, so
okay
they can
with
do
it.
all the
No
fields now.
objection.
Okay, so do we have a motion now?
So I'll make a motion, Joe, to move $3,500 from Steve's 710409B to 710431B, $3,500.
That's for the purpose of clay.
Purpose of clay, additional clay.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes. You have another item? Al?
No, the other one, I got to
Okay.
tuck in executive
Anything
session.
else? If not, then I have a motion, move in the executive session to discuss specific personnel issues, legal advice on outstanding claims and grievances, and that's why we also have our counsel, the special counsel here. Have a
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
Okay. Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you.